The trivia game show Jeopardy recently welcomed a 3-time ASU alum into their Hall of Fame. Now the third highest money winner and a 19-time champion, Jason Zuffranieri ranks among trivia's best. I sat down with him over the phone to dig into his experience and long history with the show.
So my name is Jason Zuffranieri, and I live in Albuquerque, New Mexico right now. I've been a math teacher for 10 and a half years, but I'm a graduate of Arizona State. I got a master's in 2002 in statistics and a bachelor's in 1999 in chemical engineering and mathematics. I was the last champion of season 35 on the TV program Jeopardy, America's favorite quiz show. And at the start of season 36, I went on also a bit of a winning streak, and I finished with 19 wins, and I won for $500,000.
So what made you decide to be on the show?
I think of Jeopardy as the gold standard of all trivia competitions. Everyone loves to play along at home. So many people like to watch, and it's just been a fixture on the TV screen and in the trivia scene for, almost my entire life. And, plus they're giving away money if you happen to win. That would be great too, but, I was telling people at the time, I would have done it even if there were no money at stake, because it's just such a fun competition, and you really get to show your stuff, and a real icon of television. Alex Trebek is the host, and all these things just add up to it being the goal of not just me, but of thousands of people who like to play trivia games all over the country.
What motivated you in your own life to make that decision?
It's just something I've always kind of been good at. I mean, ever since I was just really young, I've always had a decent memory and a good recognition of facts, and I tend to think very quickly as well. And so, I play some sports here and there and everything, but I naturally gravitated towards this among all sorts of academic competitions. This is my kind of thing, all the way from academic bowl in, elementary school through quiz bowl in college and playing pub quiz and everything since then. It's always been something I've enjoyed and frankly been good at, and some of my best friends also have been on the show, but that's how we got to become good friends, is by playing, these trivia games. And so it's just been in my blood, I guess.
So were you on ASU's quiz bowl team?
Yeah. When I was a senior, my first year as a senior in 1997, 1998, I ended up being on the ASU quiz bowl team, the college bowl team, where there was one major competition that we ended up qualifying for nationals for, and went out to nationals in Texas. We went winless. We were completely overmatched, but it was still it was a real learning experience. And the following year, we added, ironically, a former Jeopardy champ, and went from 0-15 to, I believe, 9-5, and we finished tied for about fourth among all the team companies.
Wow.
Yeah, it was quite a turnaround.
What was the process of auditioning like?
Every year or so, Jeopardy will put on an online test. They'll just announce it for the different time zones. They'll say, hey, at 7 o'clock, we're going to have a 15-minute test. And it's basically just 50 questions from the game, or at least questions that could be on the game. And you submit your answers just from your computer. And each of the questions, I think they only give you about 10 to 15 seconds to answer. So they kind of hustle through them. If you score high enough, and they will invite you to go to an in-person audition where they give you another 50-question test. I think to score you just to see that you weren't cheating at home or had someone else take the test for you. But also they want to kind of see what you look like, see if you look good on TV, what your personality is like, if you have any interesting stories. They want to see how you do when they kind of grill you, just like they do on the show. And they want to know what you want to do if you win a bunch of money. So they have all kinds of things. It's with their contestant coordinators to determine whether or not they want you actually on the show. Because lots of people will pass the test, but not all of them will ever make it.
Did you only audition once and immediately get on?
No, this was quite a long process. This particular time, it was in 2017, I think in January, where I passed the test and then was invited out to, of all places, out to Phoenix to audition there at a hotel downtown. I got to stay at my father's house the night before. I went to the audition the next day and then flew back to Albuquerque. That audition led to the call that I got from them in March of this year. But that was the sixth time I had done one of the online tests and flown to an audition. The other 5 were in Los Angeles, like every even-numbered year from 2004 to 2012. Before that, I tried out when I was actually in high school school at Shadow Mountain in Northeast Phoenix. I went to LA for a tryout. I also went to LA for a college tournament tryout when the Jeopardy party bus or whatever came through town to Superstition Springs Mall. I went to the tryout there. And in all three of those cases, you didn't have to pass a test to go to the tryout. You just had to get a postcard drawn or just to show up. And I failed all the tests. So I improved from, failing the tests to failing the interview to finally getting the call.
So it's definitely been a bit of a process for you then.
It certainly has, yeah. I mean, it's been, the better part of my life has been spent more or less, not every day, but, wanting to be on the show for, almost my entire life. And, I mean, watching it over the decade, playing other trivia games and, watching my friends get on the show and hoping someday it would be me. It's really been part of my life for a long time. It's just I'm just so fortunate that everything turned out kind of the way it did.
Having your friends be on the show, it seems like you had a little bit of a community going into it already.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I mean, truly some of my best friends in the whole world have been on there. Some people that we had as a team we would play against. When I was in grad school, we had a bunch that we would go to different competitions. The four of us stuck together for a long time, and in fact, I was the last of the four. My friends Nathan and then Miguel and then Trevor all made it on the show, and then I finally made it. It was kind of the culmination of a long process that the four of us had basically all just gone through together. Among others, I should say, among all the other dozens or maybe even hundreds of people I've competed against and kind of gotten to know based on their participation on the game. I mean, it really is, it's a bigger community than I would have imagined, but even before I got on the show, I really felt like I knew a lot of them.
How did you prepare to be on Jeopardy?
The best way, in my opinion, to kind of master the knowledge that they're going to be asking about those questions is to look at what they've asked about in the past. Because frequently, at the very least, those same categories or frankly, those same answers come up a lot. And so there is an archive, a database online, just got, I think they advertised like 362,000 clues or whatever it is. They've got them all. While I didn't read all of them, as many as I could, especially I would sort of look for categories that I knew I wouldn't be good at. I would study up on these things because I know what I'm not good at. I'm pretty good with sports trivia. I'm pretty good with music and, kind of playing word games and things like that, American history. I'm all right at these things, but the ones I wasn't good at were the ones that I was most worried about that would show up when I was on the show. And so I really I booked up on those and ironically almost made them into a strength by the time I was on TV. Was
it a very individual thing for you? You said that you had, people that you knew who had been on it. Was that a help at all?
Mm-hmm. For sure. Explicitly, I actually played against 20 years ago at one of those nationals, a fellow by the name of Roger Craig. He had heard I had actually won a few games. Word spread quickly. I had people I didn't even really know were congratulating me for winning a bunch of them as soon as I had taped them well before they aired. And word got over to him, and he said, look, if you'd like me to help you out, I've got some kind of strategies and some database things. I can keep stats on how well you're doing with the questions, and I can give you some tips. And Roger himself was the champ till this James Holzhauer fellow came along. So now Roger, I believe, is down to 17th place on that list because James beat him 16 times. But in the meantime, he coached me, I would say, a great deal.
That's great that he was so willing to, support you through this. And it sounds like your community really had your back.
Yeah, they did. When people hear that you've got Paul, I mean, it's like this wonderful, rite of passage, and everybody, they're like, oh, I remember that, good luck, let me know if I can help you out at all. Even actually being on the show, when they herd all of you into the green room and, you realize you're going to be competing against these people, everyone even there is very supportive. But I think we all realize we're very fortunate to be on the show at all, never mind to have, a bit of success here and there. And this is a big moment for everybody. We're all respect that fact and respect the show and are very appreciative of the opportunity and, treat others well as well.
What was the show like? Walk me through your experience.
It was a bit surreal. I mean, I have to say that the one word I use immediately, it really goes quickly. Being up there on stage, it goes super fast. That, you're just locked into the game. Every one of the questions is like its own little game, and then you move on to each question, each subsequent question, and you don't even notice, wow, it's a quarter of the way done. Oh, now it's the time. Now it's halfway done. Whoa, it's Final Jeopardy, the music has just started. It just flies right by. I was kind of surprised that I wasn't really actually as nervous as I thought I would be. And I think part of that, it's one thing to be given a test somewhere where they're like, look, you have to get this right or else. There, you're not really competing against the board, in my opinion. You're competing against the other people, and the spotlight's on them just as strongly as it's on you. And so the kind of nervous factor, I kind of alleviated it by just thinking, they've got the pressure too. I felt kind of at ease. I think also the fact that it kind of put you through the 4-hour ringer of here are the rules, here's your makeup coordinator person, fill out this paperwork, let's get you to practice on the buzzer, let's get you to practice again on the buzzer, we won't tell you when you're going to play. Kind of that whole process, I think, takes a little bit of the edge off.
Being on Jeopardy, you must have had all these expectations, imagining it for so long. How did it surprise you?
I would say, without question, I didn't ever imagine it going like this. For starters, I always figured as an adult, you're put into the general pool of possible contestants, but also as a teacher, I always figured that one day the call would come and I would be one of the teacher tournament competitors. I thought, that might be good, that'll be just teachers like me, so that should be a pretty good matchup, right? And then for it to be for the main pool, I thought, oh gosh, I don't know if this is an advantage or not. I don't know that it necessarily was, but it definitely worked out pretty well. But having said all that, I mean, it took a lot of luck. Don't get me wrong. It took a lot of luck for things to go quite as well as they did. But even in my wildest imagination, I really, really never thought it would be like this. There was about a 3-month gap, and then they brought us on back, and I was still the champ, and I had really, really studied up and been coached up, and just got into such a groove, and then the numbers just started getting just ridiculous. And the next thing you know, when the shows finally aired, they were saying, oh, you're in the Jeopardy Hall of Fame, and here's a commercial and everything. I never, ever would have imagined it.
What do you consider your biggest success from the show besides winning, 19 times?
Gosh, there was so much good fortune, and what I've heard from a lot of people, some people are like, oh gosh, you know everything, and I know for a fact that's not true, not even close, but so many people were complimentary. They were like, yeah, you were up there, and you seemed natural, very respectful, and not to throw shade at anyone else, but thought maybe I was a little more human, flaws and all, but just kind of a normal guy doing it, and not somebody who was so locked into the game that didn't see the bigger picture. I heard from old friends and the occasional just random person just out of nowhere would just write and say, I've just so enjoyed watching you. I got a card from somebody, said you were our favorite player, and they had cut a photo of me out, and they said congratulations and everything. I didn't expect any of that, that's for sure. I'm a pretty kind of humble, laid-back guy, and I'm happy to see I was able to project that instead of getting caught up in the moment and being someone that I really wasn't.
Do you think that your kind of calm and your authenticity about this helped you?
I never really got into just the actual, the crunching the numbers and like, oh my gosh, I have to have this and I'm going to get frazzled if I don't get this type thing. I don't really recall ever feeling that way. It might have just been that I was so prepared that I could feel a lot calmer, that, oh, I know this answer because I remember reading about it. And I know this answer because it was on that quiz. And that will put you at ease, that you don't have to try to come up with something and do too much because you've been so well prepared, I think, just in those months. And I do want to say, having like 3.5 month break when I knew I was coming back and could study that whole time was a real advantage compared to when I first went on there and they gave me about 2.5 weeks of lead time and said, yeah, we want to see you in the end of the month. It wasn't nearly as much time to study. So that's a real advantage I had as well.
Do you think that your time, in your history of quiz bowls and academic bowls helped you with your time on the show?
I think it definitely had to. At the very least, having the instinct of buzzing in at the right time was from, again, truly decades of playing games where you're holding a buzzer in your hand and are ringing in at the right time. That definitely helped. Watching the show over all the years, it never once was I worried that I wasn't going to phrase things in the form of a question or that I wasn't going to know the rules or something. It was so much of it second nature that, yeah, I could just focus on the questions themselves instead of anything outside there, and that's just less to worry about.
If you had your chance to return with other contestants, would you want to do it?
Oh yeah, no, without question. I'm watching actually the Tournament of Champions. It's such an exciting thing because that's probably going to be my next thing. A year from now, I should be part of this tournament. Hopefully, I could have some sustained success there too. Once you've tasted the fruit from the Jeopardy celebrity tree. I don't think there's any going back, because it's not just kind of fun being in the spotlight and, you're going to win money no matter what, whatever else, but it really is, it was a great deal of fun just playing the game. That, these are some of the cleverest question writers in the world, and you've got, an icon of TV history right there on, close to you on stage, and it's something I've been preparing for my whole life. So yeah, you give me the opportunity and I will absolutely go back.
For the State Press, I'm Kate Ourada.